Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. Our next live Jimmy Dore Show, October 12th in Burbank, California. Special guest Abby Martin. I'm here with Ron Placone. Ron, where are you going?
Hi, Jimmy. I'm going around. November 2nd, I'm in Sacramento. November 3rd, San Francisco. November 17th, Santa Barbara. And November 23rd, I'll be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Tickets available at ronplacone.com.
So CNN, is horrible, right? You know CNN, what it stands for. One of those N's actually stands for news.
Other one stands for not.
Correct. They launched this story. Wow, they were really excited about it. You want to see the story? Here it is.
Breaking news.
We want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world. This is New Day. It is Friday, July 27th, 6 o'clock here in New York, and we do begin with breaking news. For those of you who have not paid much attention to the Russia investigation, today would be a good day to start doing so.
Indeed. Wait.
Sources tell CNN that President Trump's longtime former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, has begun spilling the beans. One of the bombshells he reportedly wants the public to know is that then candidate Donald Trump knew in advance and approved of that June 2016 Trump Tower meeting in which Russians promised dirt on Hillary Clinton. And these sources say Cohen is prepared to make that claim to special counsel Robert Mueller.
Now, if this is true, it means the president lied about it publicly. It means that Donald Trump Jr. lied about it under oath. And it means the current president of the United States had knowledge of and approved of accepting Russian help during the campaign. By CNN's count, President Trump and his team have denied he had contemporaneous knowledge of the Trump Tower meeting on more than 15 occasions. Now, to be clear, there are
So they're really hyping this story. Today would be a good day.
Yeah, I smell a little desperation right out the gate there. Like, if you've been ignoring what we've been pumping for 2 years nonstop, now's the time to change.
Yeah, now, okay. It's end of August 2018 would be the time to tune in. I know we've been doing this since 2016, but don't worry, forget it. Now's the time. So here's the reporter that broke that story for them, and he's on with Chris Cuomo.
Well, Chris, tonight, sources with knowledge tell myself and Carl that Michael Cohen claims that then candidate Donald Trump knew in advance about the June 2016 meeting in Trump Tower in which Russians were expected to offer his campaign dirt on Hillary Clinton. Crucially, these sources tell us that Cohen is willing to make that assertion to the special counsel Robert Mueller. I should say that contacted by CNN, one of Cohen's attorneys, that is Lanny Davis, he declined to comment. And of course, Chris, I know you're...
Okay, so that's a lie. So when he said, first of all, when he said that we have sources, turns out there's only one source. Well, anyway, so he said that, right? So Cohen, our sources say Cohen's going to say that Trump had prior knowledge of the meeting in Trump Tower, which he's said he hasn't for 2 years. Our sources, the source that, so then Washington Post and the New York Times saw that story and they confirmed this reporting, and who they confirmed it with was Lanny Davis, who is Cohen's lawyer. Then this happened.
You said that Michael Cohen was present for a meeting with then candidate Trump and his son Don Jr. about the Trump Tower meeting. This is obviously an incredibly important issue. You've also said that Michael Cohen testified truthfully to the Senate Intelligence Committee, and according to the chair and the vice chair of the committee, he told them that he had no knowledge of the meeting until he saw it in the press. How can both those things be true? Either he knew about the meeting or he didn't know about the meeting.
Well, I think the reporting of this story got mixed up, and in the course of a criminal investigation, we were not the source.
So there he is saying we were not the source. There he is. So Washington Post and New York Times go, oh my God, he was our source. He was our source that confirmed this story that CNN reported. And so then they retracted their stories. Right? So after BuzzFeed broke the story that he was saying no. So CNN, so then Washington Post, New York Times, they retract. CNN still hasn't. CNN's still going with this bogus story, even though their source, and they won't even admit. Well, here's Glenn Greenwald talking about it.
I find it to be, and obviously this is a high bar, one of the most humiliating and scandalous moments in the entire media behavior of the.
First of all, I just like hearing that. But let me just say one more thing for clarity. When this guy here said, when they go, Lanny Davis didn't give us comment. Well, that's a lie because he was their source. So that's what that lie was. And then he comes on, and so then he comes on with Anderson Cooper and says, I was not your frickin' source. And here's what Glenn Greenwald says about all of this.
I find it to be, and obviously this is a high bar, one of the most humiliating and scandalous moments in the entire media behavior of the Trump-Russia saga. You know, I've been on your show to talk about a lot of these humiliating moments, and this might be one of the worst ones yet. Keep in mind that in addition to all the facts that you just said, what's so crucial about this is that after Lanny Davis went on CNN with Anderson Cooper, and to Anderson Cooper's shock, admitted that everything CNN had been breathlessly hyping is true, was actually false, namely that Michael Cohen was there when Trump learned about the Trump Tower meeting in advance. The Washington Post and the New York Post listened to that and they said, wait a minute, we independently confirmed CNN stories based on an anonymous source, and our anonymous source was Lanny Davis, who's now saying the whole thing is false. So what they had to do and what they should have done, which is they retracted the story, they outed their own source, they said our anonymous source is Lanny Davis, and we now retract it because he says it's false. CNN couldn't do that because they lied to the entire world. They said, as you just played, that they tried to get a hold of Lanny Davis and he refused to comment, when in fact, of course, Lanny Davis was also their source, and they don't want to admit that they lied to the world, so they can't retract the story, and they can't admit they lied, so they're just continuing to stick to what everybody knows is a lie, but not many people care because people think, a lot of people anyway, that it was done for the right political agenda.
So this is from Glenn's article about this. He says, only one of two things can be true here, and either is extremely significant. One, CNN deliberately lied to its audience about Davis refusing to comment on the story when, in fact, Davis was one of the anonymous sources on which CNN report depended. And CNN claimed Davis refused to comment in order to hide Davis's identity as one of their anonymous sources. That's what it looks like what happened. Or two, Davis is lying now to BuzzFeed when he confessed to having been one of CNN's sources for the story. So he confessed to BuzzFeed he was the source, and then he reversed it. No, I can't confirm that Cohen's going to say that. That's not true. So the whole story falls apart, except CNN's sticking by it. And so Glenn also makes this point, and he's made it before, which is an awesome point. Because people go, well, you know, news people, they breaking news, they have sources that recant, and they get stories wrong all the time, but they correct, right? Well, even though CNN's not correcting. But they actually have fired some people over getting the Russia stories wrong.
They have?
Last year. Oh, well, you know what? Yeah. Or let some people go. But what Glenn points out is that if it was just honest mistakes by the news media, then you would imagine that half the mistakes would be one way and half the mistakes would be the other way, or close to that.
Mm-hmm.
Every time there's a mistake in this Russia story and Trump collusion, it's always the same way. It's always a mistake that aids the establishment narrative and is anti-Trump. That's what he points it out. So here they are. Russia, here's one of them. Russia hacked into the United States electrical grid to deprive Americans of heat during the winter. That was a story published by the Washington Post. Totally bogus. An anonymous group, Prop or Not, documented how major U.S. political sites are Kremlin agents. That was in the Washington Post.
Democracy dying in darkness, 0 for 2.
Yep. WikiLeaks has long documented relationship with Putin. Guardian printed that. That's not true. A secret server between Trump and Russia Bank has been discovered. That was in Slate. Also, RT hacked C-SPAN and caused disruption of its broadcast. That was in...
That's my first time hearing about that one.
That's me too.
We have a mission. We need to hijack a station nobody watches. Why? We need to do it. We need to... Hijacked one nobody. Well, there are 13 people. They're going to be very upset.
We're going to sow discord. So and there's another one. Russia hacked into a Ukrainian artillery app. That was CrowdStrike. We've talked about that BS story before because CrowdStrike is the same. That was totally debunked. They totally made stuff up. CrowdStrike did, and they're the ones that the DNC and the FBI relied on to do the search of the server. The DNC, this corrupt company called CrowdStrike, who's been caught lying before. Another one. Russians attempted to hack election system in 21 states. Multiple news outlets echoing Homeland Security. Not true. Links have been found between Trump ally Anthony Scaramucci and Russian investment fund under investigation. Also, so they're always wrong in the same way. Remember that story last year that, or was it this year, that they had the dates wrong on the emails that proved collusion, and every news organization got it wrong. The email came after. It just keeps happening. So the story here is that CNN will not correct, at the very least, a known error. But they did lie, so that's why they can't correct it. That's what Glenn Greenwald is saying. Because that guy who went on and said, "Oh no, he didn't comment," that was one of their sources or their source. So that's a lie when they said he didn't comment. So here's Glenn Greenwald tweeted this out. He goes, "The newsletter from CNN's media reporters pretends to address the scandal surrounding its blockbuster Cohen debacle, but it entirely ignores, like the network itself, the key problem. Their reporters outright lied when they said Lanny Davis, their source, refused to comment." And here's what they're saying, and I'll read you the part. It says, over the past week, Cohen lawyer Lanny Davis has publicly said he was one of the sources who confirmed the news to CNN and other media organizations. Davis now says he cannot confirm the news. Davis' walkback has prompted critics, a good chunk of whom belong to the right-wing media universe, to unleash a torrent of criticism on CNN. Trump allies have also fanned the flames. Throughout the day, Donald Trump Jr. and others tweeted about the issue. Glenn says this, CNN's strategy here is obvious as it is lame. Pretend it's just a scandal among the right. That's one, not true. And two, an indictment of non-conservative journalists if it were true. It's a huge deal that CNN outright lied about a key issue on its biggest story and won't address it. So now you know why people get their news from YouTube. This is every week now we can report a story where CNN is caught lying. Like Jake Tapper got caught lying, and they won't correct it. Jake Tapper literally called what he did a fact check. And so they won't correct it, Ron.
We called a guy. No, I wanted to make a small side note. I like how Glenn pointed all this out on Fox News, too. There's a famous quote, and I forget who said it, but they said that when politicians argue about why the other one is not fit to lead, that's the only time they're actually telling you the truth. And I think it's like a cable news outlet only does well when they're pointing out how shitty one of the other ones is. It's like, today Fox News pointed out that CNN's shitty. Tomorrow CNN will point out why MSNBC's shitty. And they get it right that time.
Well, it's funny because of Glenn Greenwald gets invited on Fox when they want to criticize CNN, and he gets invited on CNN when they want to criticize Fox.
Yep.
That's very interesting, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. So, again, another black eye for the mainstream media. And now when Trump says fake news, now it lands. And now you know why it lands with people. Because this is 2 weeks in a row, caught blatantly lying and not owning up to it. This is 2 weeks in a row. And the Jake Tapper one was just a head scratcher of a head scratcher. Well, it's just not a head scratch. It's a head scratcher how he could do it with a straight face. But $30,000 a day buys a lot of straight faces, right? I could do that for $30,000 a day. I could tell people Medicare for all actually costs more. That's what Jake Tapper did. He told people it costs more. Really expensive.
Yeah. CNN, way to be so awful you prove Trump right.
That's
how awful you are.
This is what's happening, Ron. This is exactly what's happening. But I'm sure, but this is the news organization that's slandered us or smeared us. This is that. They're the ones who are going to tell you if it's an apple, not a banana. They're just liars. And they're bad at it. They do horrible news anyway. They're for every war. They're lying to you that Medicare doesn't save money. They're lying to you about one of the biggest issues in the world. They never cover climate change. Why? Because they're sponsored by fossil fuel companies.
They haven't found a guy to call yet. Once they find someone to call.
Hey, is there an app that covers climate change? Maybe we can outsource. Like we hooked up with factcheck.org. Is there like climatecheck.org? We could have them do our work for us because I don't know how to do climate change stories. Wow. 2 years later, here we are. Okay, that was fantastic. That was going to be it. Isn't it something? It's like every week you hear, this is it, we got him. And now you know why people get their news from YouTube. Thanks for watching. Please make sure you're subscribed. Even if you think you are, you're probably not. It only takes a second to check. And then you have to ring that bell so they send you a notification when we drop a new video. Otherwise, they won't tell you when we drop new videos. And if you like our show, please help support it. Become a patron. We give you hours of bonus material every week, and we give a live stream. We do a live stream every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific time when you could ask us questions and we answer them back. Thanks for your support.